Mr. Databrain here. On one of the forums I frequent, at least one member has accused me of having flawed logic when it comes to sex despicable act. To that I say pure, unadulterated bullshit. On many levels, I understand the frustration and anger with governments that are out of control, and our tax monster that appears to know no bounds, and the damage done to our country, our people, our rights, and our property. Yet, I cannot agree with or support in any manner Americans, or non-Americans, stepping outside the law and murdering other Americans because of where they happen to work. My logic is simple: violence is not the answer, we the people are the answer. We also have all the tools we need in our constitution or constitutions to control government without violence. We the people are the solution. We cannot let Mr. Hunter's death be for naught, else we are part of the problem. Too many Americans have already died over taxes. I do not have all the statistics, however the number of Americans killed or wounded must be in the 50,000 to possibly even more than 100,000. Since the days of our country's founding revolution. And with great sadness we have yet another fallen hero, Mr. Vernon Hunter. OBL declared war on us by killing thousands of people, mostly Americans, because of where they worked. Once someone declares war, the rules change, and a different set of laws apply. No one declared war on Stack, thus the rules and laws we the people live by still apply. The real flawed logic is that violence instead of law is the answer. This is true in many other countries, and should never be true in America. Violence of this nature only leads to more violence, and IMHO will only lead to two results: total tyranny or total anarchy. I will not support either. If we the people, we, are allowing our government or governments to condemn us to slavery in exchange for safety, who is really at fault? If we do not demand our government or governments at all levels to uphold and support the Constitution, who is at fault? If we let our government kill children in foreign lands out of fear, who is at fault? If we stand idle while progressives pass into law the taking of our rights to decide for us such things as health care, who is at fault? If we don't demand real justice from the administrative systems, such as tax court, letting them illegally take our property, who is at fault? Murdering people, especially other Americans, is the coward's way out. Stack committed murder and suicide. I do not believe he was crazy, however, I do believe he was as cowardly as it gets, at least in my book. Until the rules change, there is simply no justification for shedding another single drop of American blood over taxes. Instead, we need more true Americans, real heroes like Pete and Doreen Hendrickson, thousands or even better, millions more. Note, there is no logic on God's earth that will convince me that any Americans, murdered by cowards, are not heroes, regardless of where they work, or who they work for. God gave each of us unalienable rights and free choice upon our birth. He also gave us 10 commandments, one of which is you shall not murder. Our founding fathers gave each of us the right to be an American, through the Declaration of Independence and the American Revolutionary War. Our Constitution or constitutions declares our Bill of Rights, and gives us the means to control our government or governments. Quote, the U.S. Declaration of Independence states that when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government. We keep pointing fingers at the federal government and waiting for someone to change it. Where does that responsibility truly lie? Within our 50 states, at our very feet. Here are some examples of the right of revolution by state constitutions. New Hampshire's Constitution guarantees its citizens the right to rebellion, in Article 10 of the Constitution's Bill of Rights. Whenever the ends of government are perverted, and public liberty manifestly endangered, and all other means of redress are ineffectual, the people may, and have right off to reform the old, or establish a new government. The doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind. The Kentucky Constitution also guarantees a right of revolution in Section 1 of the Bill of Rights. All power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority, and instituted for their peace, safety, happiness and the protection of property. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform or abolish their government in such manner as they may deem proper. Similar wording is used in Pennsylvania's Constitution. 29. Under Article 1, Section 2 of the Declaration of Rights, all power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority, and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends they have at all times an inalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform or abolish their government in such manner as they may think proper. Article I-2 of the Tennessee Constitution states that government being instituted for the common benefit, the doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind. North Carolina's Constitution of November 21, 1789, also contains in its Declaration of Rights, 3rd, that government ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, and that the doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive to the good and happiness of mankind. Note, in the 1776 Virginia Constitution the right would arise simply if government was inadequate. In Pennsylvania's 1776 Constitution required only that the people considered a change to be most conducive to the public welfare. If we want to put the federal government and its tax monster back under the constitutional restraints it is supposed to operate from, then we first need to take back control of our local and state governments. We must demand that our state government or governments protect our individual rights, especially from the federal government and the monsters it created. We collectively can and must win 50 battles at the state level to win the ultimate prize, a federal government controlled by the constitutional powers granted to it by the states, powers given to the states from we the people. We can no longer allow our states to be controlled and corrupted by the promise of easy federal money to cure the state's budget ills. Unlike our federal elected servants which hide behind their true masters, lobbyists and big money, your local and state elected servants are typically within an easy drive, phone call, or email away. We need to tighten our belts, stand up on our feet, and let them know we are not federal slaves. More states need to pass laws protecting all our unalienable rights from the reach of an out-of-control federal government. In closing, I challenge each and every American to take back your local and state governments by constitutional means and never ever through individual acts of violence. We have all the tools, laws, and rights we need to make it happen. Now, we need a collective will to see our freedoms and justice restored through the peaceful application of the truth and the law.